So let's say for a moment you came across your dream home online. The pictures on Zillow were super pretty, the size, features, and everything else checks all the boxes and more. The question now is, what due diligence should you do from home to be efficient in this fast-moving housing market before you even take the time to see the home in person? Most of my clients said they've never even thought to do these things. What's going on, everyone? Andrew McManaman here, a Michigan realtor educating you on moving to, from, and within the fine state of Michigan. As I mentioned, buying a home today requires a lot of urgency. The market is moving fast. Homes are on and off the market before you even have the chance to decide whether you want it or not. So in order to combat that, there needs to be a game plan in place every single time you come across a home you're head over heels for, or you simply will stay in that rat race forever, or you'll finally get the home you thought you wanted just to have a fat case of buyer's remorse, which isn't something we want for you. I'll put a link in the description to all of these resources I'm about to mention so you don't have to go searching around for them. Starting off with the first and most obvious thing you should do before you even consider looking at a home in person is jumping on good old Google Maps or Google Earth. And I know some of you are saying, yeah, that's cool and everything, Andrew, but the data is several years old. And yes, I get that, but it most likely won't change the fact that there's an industrial plant across the street pumping pollution like AC through your windows. Look at an aerial view, look at all the surroundings, look at the proximity of other houses, judge the neighbors a little bit, see if it's a busy road by clicking through the street view until you see a miles per hour sign if you're not familiar with the area. Punch in directions for your work commute, your significant other's work commute, where's the gas stations at, electric charging stations if you're going that route, shopping, restaurants, and schools if you have or plan to have children. This due diligence takes just a few minutes but can save you a whole lot of time going out there just to find out the view out your front window is a KFC drive-thru. This may seem silly and obvious, but trust me, it is not. This is step one to doing your due diligence before checking the home out. Not all realtors will say, hey, did you know the home is in the parking lot of a Chuck E. Cheese? They may assume you already did that research, so do yourself a favor and check that box before you drive out there. Jumping on over to thing number 2, and that's niche.com. This website is an absolute gold mine when it comes to getting information about areas that you are not familiar with. It takes data and statistics from the US Bureau and several other resources and just compiles it all in a report card to give you a sense of the schools, the crime and safety, housing, diversity, and nightlife. It's a source that realtors like myself point a lot of clients to, not because we don't know the answers, but it's to take a look at several things that we can't touch on legally so things aren't taken out of context. I've mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but we can't just talk about diversity, crime, and demographics, because as a realtor, we abide by the Fair Housing Act, where we can't discriminate or steer people away from certain areas based on any protected classes. So these websites answer the questions that may be important to you, but we can't dabble on too much. My favorite part about niche.com are the reviews. So when you type in a particular area, you can scroll down to the bottom and see the 1 to 5 star reviews like you would ordering something on Amazon, and that's because they are from current and past residents, and they are always so brutally honest, and it helps when you're trying to find a community good for you and your family. But I always say, let niche.com be a guideline. You can't look at their B rating for a school and assume they're horrible. You can't read one of the reviews that says the downtown businesses suck. Just let it be a point for further research. Which brings us into thing number 3, and that's school rankings. Niche.com has a pretty extensive list of school rankings, and the reviews on that site oftentimes have parents of students who are honest about their experience there. But there are also other sources online such as US News and World Report, mischooldata.org, greatschools.org, and School Digger, if I remember correctly. A lot of these pull their data from different sources so you can get an idea of the average rankings for all the school districts that the potential house is near. And to figure out what school district the home is located in, just type in the city the home is in, followed by a school district map, and there is most likely a PDF provided by the school district to give you a sense of what the school territories are. Just make sure that the map is up to date. Schools, I'd have to say, require additional due diligence because you almost need to go down a rabbit hole of information to be satisfied with your results. Of course, you can type in the top 10 school districts in Michigan and it ranks them 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, but does that mean that 8 out of 10 is horrible? That's why rankings are hard to judge by. So the order of operations is figuring out the district, searching a few of these sites about the schools in the districts, reading some reviews on niche.com for further insight, or even consider joining one of the community Facebook pages and searching the group for a particular school within the district to see what those people said about it. Then, of course, going to each school site, seeing what's offered, then seeing the awards the district received and why. You're just compiling as many opinions that you can get your hands on while also looking at the data and facts to back those opinions. It may seem like a huge pain in the butt, but getting a good education for your kids is important, and I know you know that. After school rankings, we have thing number 4, familywatchdog.us. This is a free sex offender registry where you can type in the address of the home and see how close sex offenders are and what they got charged with, as well as an image and description of the person too. Of course, it's completely up to you if you move forward with the home near a sex offender, but you can at least see if it was just someone who got caught peeing on the side of the road or something much, much worse that could concern you and your family's safety. It's also a nice resource to know because I feel like in the movies, people talk about their neighbors like they're these scary people. Well, this is one way to find out. The next way is with thing number 5, and that's crimemapping.com or spotcrime.com. Similar to Family Watchdog, this allows you to type in the home's address and see all the crime that has happened near the home and what it was. Maybe it just was credit card fraud at the nearby shopping center, or maybe it was an assault. Again, use your discretion to determine if the crimes being done close by are ones you can accept or ones that you can't, because at the end of the day, your safety is what's most important in your new home. If you just want an overall grade associated with the area in terms of the severity of crime, use a website like crimegrade.org, which will break down the percent of what crime has occurred, as well as an interactive, color-coordinated map showing crime per 1,000 residents. Thing number 6 to keep an eye out for is flood maps and flood zones, specifically FEMA's flood mapping service, which has a great table showing what all the colors, lines, and dots mean. You can, again, just punch in the address of the home and get a sense of whether or not it's in a flood zone, which is something that's good to know so you can budget for flood insurance, since most mortgage lenders will require it if that's the case. And even if they don't, it's good to see potentially where there are low spots that could get flooded that you would want to address in the future. I also mentioned to people to type in the city that they're interested in, followed by flood. And if there's an event that took place for flooding, you can go down this little rabbit hole of figuring out why. Did the streets fill up with water because there was a drainage issue? Then all the sewer pipes backed up into the houses? And if it's something that you see that's a trend every few years during heavy rains, that's something to heavily consider and would save you thousands and thousands of dollars, as well as keeping your cherished items dry. The last thing I wanted to mention is thing number 7, but it's more so a bonus thing, and that's looking at a topo map to see the elevations of the land. Google Maps could help with this. The flood maps could also show low points, but in areas that aren't notorious for flooding, you may want to see if the home is in a low spot. That would mean prioritizing a sump pump to get the water away from your foundation, as well as considering a backup battery in case the power goes out and it doesn't do its job. Or maybe on the other side of things, it's in a high spot, so all the water flows away, which is a plus, but the downside is the backyard is a full-blown cliff, so you probably don't want little Billy in the back kicking the soccer ball around. I know this list of 7 things may seem like a lot to do for each house you're interested in, but it can go extremely quick once you get the hang of it, and it will save you gas money and lots of time that you could be allocating to other houses, that Netflix show you like, or just hanging out with your family. Showings take a lot of time, so if you can do a good chunk of due diligence from home, it enables you to either cross that home off the list or make it a contender to go see in person and allows you to make a better decision that doesn't need days to sleep on, especially in a fast-moving housing market. For those of you that put your research hat on at home when looking at houses, what other sites or resources do you recommend? Drop them in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching. If you ever need any help buying, selling, or investing in the fine state of Michigan, don't hesitate to reach out. Until next time.